Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video I'm going to be doing a starter guide for Gold Mythic Telltale Molly. I know a lot of people have got their hands on this character, be it grade 5, limit break 1, limit break 2, limit break 3. I think she's got good usage at pretty much all of those grades that I just said, but specifically higher grades based on, being able to use on her defense team as well as an attack team. I'm primarily going to be doing a build where she's going to be mainly used on a defense team, and on an attack team she'd be more of a support character, not really being relied on for the damage, although it would be a little bit of a bonus. It's mainly just the fact that she has got revives, guardian shield, and passives. Now I have broken down how all of these things actually work. I have done a preview video and just gone over all of these abilities. If you want to go and check that out to see the breakdown of her skills and such, you can check that out in the top right hand corner, should be a link there. But we'll get on to the actual skill upgrades, and I'm going to walk you through what I think are good to prioritize as skill upgrades for this character. Okay, so we'll go on to Molly's passives in just a second, but when it comes to Adrenaline Rush, I'd say you want to try and get her to grade 5 or limit break 1, just based on the fact that obviously stats, power, level up ability, and also the actual power in the rush itself. LB3 is better, obviously, 100% HP when revived is awesome, but it's very usable on an attack team in particular. I'd say at grade 5 and LB1. And then when it comes to the signature move, I'd say pretty much the same deal. Grade 5 is going to be absolutely fine for an attack team. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to get her to LB2 or LB3 or anything when it comes to the signature move for a defense team, but you do for the stats, and you do also for the passive, which we're going to look at now. And this is where you're going to get a lot of her power. And I would say coming out alive, the easiest upgradable passive here is her best passive, which is actually awesome. It's the most accessible passive. You get 2 options to upgrade this, coming out alive 1 and 2, and it's at grade 1 and 3, so very easy to upgrade. This gives a total chance of 40% to revive a teammate with 50% of their max HP, just RNG at the beginning of every turn. On defense or attack, this is great. And when it comes to spirit, I have tested it out. She does get bonus HP on her signature move revive, but currently it doesn't work on her rush revive. I would assume this is actually not meant to happen this way, and it's meant to get bonus HP on her rush revive, but for whatever reason it's not, because the wording is exactly the same. So hopefully that's going to get fixed. I will pass that on, but if it does get fixed, she's going to be able to get bonus HP on all of those revives when it comes to her, rush, signature move, and she'll be able to give it on her passive revive here, and also the RNG heal, which she does as well, which is called Patch Up. You can see I've maxed out Patch Up. I'd say that's the other really viable max out sort of like ability. You can see Patch Up 1 and 2 are completely maxed. This gives a 20% chance for each half, and making it a 40% chance total to heal a teammate for 50% of their max HP. Again, this is completely RNG, but this is very nice, and then obviously the bonus HP on top of that means that she would get an extra 10% bonus HP to whoever she healed with that 50%, which is, again, just a nice little bonus. When it comes to the rest of the passives, I've gone for 9 out of 20 on every single other one. And I generally say it's always viable to go to 9 out of 20. Just Lilith and Ulysses a little bit easier to come by. Once you start getting into 10 and 15, that's when you're using Maddox and Madeline's. It comes down to your resources at that point and how viable you think those passives are for that particular character. And Protective Layer is the only other passive here which I think is actually pretty good, because it can go up to 100% chance a single teammate getting a guardian shield when a character gets revived, and that's pretty good because it goes to the lowest HP character on a defense team. That is actually really good. So if you do intend to use her on a defense team, it is definitely worth maxing that out, but if you are intending to use her on an attack team, not as much. Now when it comes to Molly's combat mods, it depends on how you want to use this character. If you're primarily using her on attack, you could go for attack set or crit set and just make her a bit more offensive. Maybe just put like a HP on crit set or a HP on attack set and be absolutely fine. But if you're going to be using her on defense and attack like I am, I'm going to be using a HP set just to boost her HP a bit. But the real questionable one is this mod just here. Do you go for crit to give her some, more chance to actually hit guardian shields? or do you go for stats to increase her survivability? It's funny, Molly kind of reminds me of an older character back in the day called Holly, who is pretty much exactly the same. She was a reviving character that also had Guardian Shields on her specialist skill, and that was the choice you had to make with her. Do I go for more crit, or do I go for more like survivability? It really depends on the team you're going to be using Molly in. If you on a defense team, if you're using Molly in a defense team that has like heavy survivability, bonus HP, defense buffs and stuff, maybe she can sacrifice a little bit of survivability and just increase the kind of annoyance with Guardian Shields. But if it's in quite a weak defense team and she needs to have that, you know, be able to take a hit, then you're probably going to have to go for like HP on HP or like defense on HP in this situation. So I'm going to go on with crit though. We're going to put a crit mod in that slot. And this is because I do want to be hitting those Guardian Shields. I'm going to have her in a fairly tanky defense team, and I want those Guardian Shields to be annoying. So I've gone for crit on HP, and the top right hand corner mod is pretty straightforward. If you're going to use a character on a defense team, generally speaking, defense versus the trait that they're going to take extra damage from is a good idea, just so they don't get absolutely destroyed. There are definitely some hard-hitting strong characters out there, so defense versus strong is absolutely fine. Now, when it comes to the bottom right-hand corner, this is the resist. I would go for like a more meta resist, and those ones are going to be like impair, confuse, and taunt. Those are the kind of meta ones. Taunt mainly for when she's on an attack team, but if you are using Clementine as the leader, she doesn't need it. But on the defense team, I see like confuse, and I see like impair, like I say, being the two big ones. So I'm going to go with confuse resist, and I have to go to gold because I have not sorted the mods out on all my defense teams yet. Definitely need to do that as soon as possible. But the reason I'm going to go with confuse resist is because there are some, you know, pretty dangerous confused characters on attack teams. But also, I'm going to be going on another mod to counter some other things, you know, counter, for instance, stun. But you could potentially go for that taunt resist if you did want to use on a defense team. It basically comes down to what you think is an issue or how you want to gear your specific defense team that she's going to be in. Now, the mod I'm going to use in the bottom left-hand corner is going to be defense while stunned, and that's why I've not gone for a stun resist. So if I do get stunned, I'll get a nice hefty defense boost. On a gold mod, it's not as big, but this is still going to be like 65%. On a platinum mod, you can get, you know, over 100% defense boost, which is huge. And obviously, this means that she's just got more survivability when she is stunned. And while that doesn't sound great, do remember her passives heal and revive people even if she's stunned. Those work under full control, so you can 100% get away with just having it so that she just is alive and still doing things, which is what you're going to be relying on in this situation. Now, the last mod is kind of going to be up to you and where you want to go. Like I said, you could go with stats if you feel the survivability is going to be too low. You could go for defense in the top left-hand corner and HP here and just try and, you know, boost her stats up a little bit. You could go with another resist if you think there's another particular resist combo that's an issue. Like, you could go for impair or daze resist here if you so wish. It's completely up to you. Or a defense versus. There's quite a few different options. And you could even go with like defense while confused and defense while stunned, like I said, and just take full advantage of the fact that she's got those passives that work even when she is full control. So there are definitely some ways to go. I'm probably going to go with a stat mod. I don't have one within HP just yet, so I'm probably going to have to go offset and just get a decent like bonus. So I've gone with HP on an attack set mod here, which I did have just hanging around. Not obviously the best option you've got. You lose on just a slight bit of percentage HP if you're going offset, but as long as you've got 3 of the set, you're absolutely fine. You can see her HP has been boosted up to 30k. She's going to get basically an extra 7 or 8k basically from the mods. These don't multiply with her weapon, they don't multiply with leader skill, so this is pretty much just a set increase based on her base stats. The higher you raise her base stats with lieutenants and with medals and stuff like that in terms of gearing her up and upgrading her, that's going to make the mods more powerful. That's the only thing that amplifies mods. Nothing else does. Except the odd passive, but they're quite rare. For instance, on Ezekiel, but Molly does not have that one. Now, when it comes to Molly's attached weapon, she does not have an attached weapon. So you can obviously build a weapon to put in her hands. You could go full on roleplay mode and actually build an ice pick, which I think a lot of people might have for defense teams, where it's like a stat-based ice pick with absolute defense. That's definitely an option. Maybe fast healing on there as well. Because you've got absolute defense, you don't necessarily need the 4 slot to actually do any damage reduction. So that's a little bit of a bonus. Now, she will lose out on the fact that she is a 66 AP character. So it'll take her a little bit of time to get her rush going, especially for the fact that her signature move is turn 3. So she's not going to be gaining AP very quickly on a defense team at all. That being said, those passives, like I said before, are still going to work regardless. So a weapon that is like this for a defense team is obviously ideal, and you can get a kind of decent starting block in the current Mythic market, which has fast healing and defense and HP. You'll have to get absolute defense or impenetrable defense in the 3rd slot, but it's actually pretty decent. You know, fast healing off the bat, you're going to have to potentially use those blow torches, get the impenetrable defense. It might take you a fair old few tries, but this weapon is very handy indeed. Now, if you want to use her on an attack team, this is almost the perfect weapon for her. And this was obviously drawn to my attention by Noah. He basically said the fact that you have to hit crits anyway, might as well use a one that gives bonuses for hitting crits. And I think this is the only weapon within Fast that does that. And when you hit a crit, you impair a line. Very, very useful, particularly if you do intend on using the Telltale guys as a full squad. They don't have huge amounts of control outside of Clementine herself, so there is a little bit of bonus control here for your team. It does also give attack bonuses, making her more of an all-round character on an attack team, which is great. Basically, you're manipulating how useful she is on an attack team with the weapon, which is how you should go. Whereas defense teams need the mods to be defensive to be viable on a defense team, and you can have the weapon basically just give extra boosts on top. Now, if you don't have that weapon, you could potentially go with a weapon like this. This is where she's going to give herself a Guardian Shield off of turn 1, and that would mean that when she does her attack off of turn 1, she won't ever give herself a Guardian Shield because she's going to have one already. But she generally is going to have one of the higher HP numbers if you do build her defensively, so that's not as much of a problem. You could also just give her the kind of basic attack team weapons for someone who does multi-hits or does everything where they get bonuses from actually doing attack on that 3rd slot. Now, it's not going to be as big a deal on someone like Molly, but it is going to give bonuses. And the fact that she's got 1535 here as well will give her a better chance to crit if you aren't using Clementine or if it's past those initial turns with the 100% crit chance. So definitely a decent weapon here. The last option you've got is one you can just craft. It's a bit harder to come by, but it's basically an 8% weapon. Basically the same as what we've just seen, but 8% and 1535. I haven't fully upgraded this weapon, but that's the way you can do this one. Now, if you're using Molly on an attack team and you are using the Impair line weapon, it's really good against Vance. For instance, let's say Angel here is actually Vance and I've taken Vance out, but I haven't controlled him. If I crit the character in front of Vance, it would still do the actual impair to a line and Vance would get impaired in that situation. So that's where Molly comes in very, very handy for sure. Otherwise, you're going to have to just, you know, like rely on the percentage boost on the weapon rather than going for a weapon like this. I don't think they're ever going to bring this weapon back. So if you missed it, unfortunately, that is pretty much it for you and this team. Well, on this character, basically. I'm just going to do the business as Kenny likes to do, and we shall be just taking out this team with no paybacks, which is nice. Which is nice. Might have to do his rush as well, though. Let's see. And hers. Let's just go. Very tanky. Got him. So now, while you don't get the control, you will get attack bonuses. Obviously, like if I hit the attack here on Vance because he's 100% HP or over 50%, just watch the wording over Molly's head. She gets 45% extra attack. This is going to work with her signature move, and this is going to work with every single individual hit on her rush. This will be the same way it works with every character, basically, including like Kenny, including Clementine, so on and so forth. If any of your characters have that in their hands, they're going to get the bonuses because of that, which is obviously great. But now you can see where the issue is. I've got no control here on Vance, so I've got to time this like well, And it's actually going to be hard to do because the way Vance works is he's only going to be down for like a second. He's only going to be down for a second. We'll see if we can do it. The issue we potentially got is this dude. Is this dude going off? And there's not much we can do in this situation. There's not much we can do. We're going to just have to blow him up and then blow up Vance, and then I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure. Oh, I guess. Oh no, because we decapped Vance, there's not going to be any instant revive from the first takedown. That's actually pretty beneficial, and that was thanks to Duck. So like I said in the intro, this is only a starter guide, and I kind of see these things as getting you like 85% to 90% of the way there. Things will generally be tweaked over time. For instance, once I've used her in an actual war and gone through it, I'll maybe tweak maybe 1 mod or 2 mods. The weapon generally will stay around the same because there's not as many options there, but basically I might tweak it a little bit, but it really depends on the team you're putting her in and the teammates that are surrounding her. For instance, if like in the future, if a character comes out that cleanses Confuse quite a lot on a defense team, she doesn't necessarily need Confuse resist, does she? So it's not going to be as big a problem. So for instance, you could go for taunt resist in that situation instead. Even though she does get on an attack team, it's decent to have it on a defense team as well. But yeah, like I say, just a little starter guide. If you have any thoughts on any changes you'd make, any combat mod ideas, any weapon ideas, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. It's always cool to hear other people's thoughts and ideas. But that is the end of my video, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.